Hi guys, I am Actual Vision and welcome to Driver Spotlight number 3. You guys have been loving this series so far, so I thought I would continue. And today I've got a very, very special guest, actually a genuine friend of mine in the world of sim racing as well, a driver for Veloce Esports, an Alfa Romeo F1 Esports team. He's an EROC world champion, a world's fastest gamer, and a bunning YouTuber. I have no idea what that means. It's Veloce Jaaames. How you doing, man? Give us a little introduction about yourself.
Yes, I'm James Baldwin, and Veloce Jaaames. I've known you for a long time, my friend. We met, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now. A
It's a
budding
long time.
YouTuber, by the way, means I'm trying to make it as a YouTuber, but I'm a long way off at the moment. That's basically what that means.
Shouldn't that be budding with 2 Ds?
I'm pretty sure it's bunning, mate. But we'll check that later. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, I'm not a YouTuber yet. So, um, yeah. But it's all going well, mate. I'm really enjoying myself. Last year and the year before was really good, and trying to make this year as good as possible, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're one of those drivers that, again, there's a few from the Project Cars eras from back in the day when we had the Go for Cups. I guess you came in Project Cars 2, wasn't really Project Cars 1, but I've sort of watched you grow up over the... It makes myself sound so bloody old, but it is true. And I was there for your first... Yeah, good. Well done, mate. Cheers. Great banter. So yeah, I've watched you kind of grow up into what you are now, like a sim racing powerhouse. As much as you may disagree with that, it is a fact at this point. Formerly known as TM Jaaames, then F4H Jaaames, and now Veloce Jaaames, one of the biggest esports teams, not just within sim racing, but in the world. So yeah, how's it been going over the last couple of years, this whirlwind? Have you been able to take a step back and take stock of what's happened?
Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not Lewis Hamilton or anything. So it's like, but at the same time, as you say, it's been pretty crazy. Starting in a smallish team, TM, and then going through quite a few teams, like a sim racing prostitute almost, and then ended up at one of the biggest teams, as you say, now in the world. When Veloce I joined them, we weren't that big. They were making waves, but at the same time, we were not on a world scale. And at the moment, I know they want to be bigger, but they're definitely one of the biggest. Well, they're up there as one of the biggest teams, maybe worldwide. They're in a lot of games, especially in the racing sector. And a lot of what I've achieved is down to them as well, because they've given me a lot of advice, and the success only really started to come as soon as I joined them. But yeah, as you say from earlier, it all started on the Project Cars platform, which is where you're heavily involved with. And I suppose for that, I'm really grateful because, Project Cars was the game that got me the bug. So from that, I then thought, let's try and make it in other games. And yeah, it's just gone from strength to strength, really.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I've watched this journey from pretty much the very beginning, and it's been really interesting to watch. But it didn't just start with sim racing. For you, it started with karting. So we've got a picture of you on the grid here with loads of cars. It looks like an old photo, but it's probably a couple of years ago because you're a young man, and it makes me sick how young you are. But yeah, so you started karting. Obviously, you wanted to be, or want to be, a real-world racing driver. Let's talk about your journey through the karting ranks then. How did it all start? Where did you race? And, let's talk about... I know the story about your dad and your pet family helping you with everything. So let's just, start from the beginning, really.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I know that the sim racing or esports to real world thing is quite a controversial topic at the moment. So I don't have a preference really. And, I did karting, and, in a way, I wish I could go and take that back, because a lot of people see people who've done real life stuff going into esports as, not cheating the system, but it's almost frowned upon. So, but anyway, the karting stuff, I started when I was 8. My parents took me along. I got a bug for it. Fortunately, not a lot of people have the money to continue to do it. We had enough to do it at a lowish level. So over 8 years, I won 5 titles across whatever, but it wasn't top of the top. It wasn't European or world karting. From that, we thought we'd give it a go in the racing cars. And yeah, I think I'm jumping ahead there. So the karting stuff was good. I learned pretty much the core skills I have now from karting. And that's just my journey. It doesn't mean a gamer can't go from being, no karting to really fast on a sim. People have already proven that. That's just my journey. So I don't want to annoy anyone, because I know the real world topic's a hot topic at the moment.
I think we will bring this up today. I want to talk this because you're a perfect example of or a perfect person to really dissect in this argument. So we'll bring that up a little bit later on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because I've got my own opinions on it as well. But we're now with the Formula Ford, Formula Rookie, whatever you want to call it there. I like to call them the spider cars. They look like a bloody spider. Yeah, so you went from karting and you thought, right, I'm going to jump into a proper race car, if you like, from karting up to this. This is like the natural step, I would say. Also, a YouTube series on James's YouTube channel. The link will be in the description to his channel of all of these races that you participated in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
So what was it like going into this car?
Yeah, it's scary, man. I mean, in these videos, I talk about the emotions I was going through at the time, and it is pretty much just the nerves, the money, everything's increased. So the money's increased, the speed's increased, the danger's increased. Everything's just a bit more. So I think I was 17 at the time before I got my road license. So driving a car in general was a bit alien to me. But again, using the stuff I learned from karting, I did as best I could, and you'll see it wasn't overly great, but you got to take into consideration it was thrown in at the deep end. And to be honest, like on the back of it, I learned even more. Although the results weren't great, I learned a lot, which I've carried into sim racing once again, and all of these experiences have just combined together to make sim racing quite successful so far. So yeah, the Formula 4 days, I look back on them very fondly. It was just in the moment, it was probably a bit too much for me at that stage of my career.
Yeah, well, that's a good point you brought up just before that there. You've kind of done the opposite way round. You know, a lot of people are using sim racing to try and get themselves into the real world of motorsport, but you kind of you dabbled, let's say, with karting and Formula Ford, Formula Rookie, again, whatever you want to call it, and then you transitioned into sim racing. So what are the similarities between the two? What could you take from real world racing to put into sim racing to get the success that you've had?
I'd say it's difficult, really. I mean, you're not guaranteed success in anything you do, but the way I'm fast on a sim is, I guess, from the skills I've learned in real life, because I know what a car or any vehicle does when you turn or you brake or whatever. And I suppose that's how I got very quickly on a sim, whereas with some other people it takes a lot of time. Not with everyone, but if you don't have that real life experience, it could hinder you and you have to learn the hard way on a sim. But the reality is, when I've got back into a real car, it's amazing, mate. Like, honestly, I'm such a better driver now than I was before sim racing, and it's clear to see. Before, when I used to get in a real car, I used to be scared, nervous. I'd drive it very, very tentatively, whereas now I know what cars do from the sim. I know, if this happens, I've got to do this to stop it happening, and that's all from the sim. So when I get in a car now, I'm just full of confidence, because I know a lot of real racing drivers don't use sims, so that's my advantage over them.
It's hours in the seat at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's a real car or whether it's and that goes for absolutely anything, like being a football player, being a dart player, just going from opposite sports there. The more hours you put in, the better you're going to be, or maybe not even better, because there's obviously natural talented people out there who are just ridiculous, but the more comfortable you are going to be in that situation. Obviously, sim racing doesn't have the dangers of real world motorsport, but ultimately, like, if you had done this 5 years earlier, I think it would have been a harder transition, because the games were just not anywhere near the spec what we have now. But like, it was a perfect time for you to be able to transition between the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right, it's fortunate timing. 5 years later, I'd be probably a bit too old, and the competition every day now is getting more fierce, that the level's higher, and it one day may be COD or CSGO level competition, which makes the barrier to entry becomes very difficult, because the talented guys are ridiculous. Whereas 5 years earlier, as you say, the sims weren't ready, whereas now was a very good chance for me to go and do it. So as you say earlier, like, when you sit back and reflect, it's like, bloody hell, it's very fortunate, but hopefully it's not the end of it either. Hopefully it's just the start.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Especially if someone like myself and yourself were trying to make a living from the world of sim racing. So yeah, we want this to continue. We want it to get to bigger.
Yes.
So you've come from track racing. So you've raced real life track racing, and pretty much the majority of your project cars career up to this point was track racing. And then, ironically, the first LAN final you ever qualified for is Rallycross. And that was the
Yeah, I know.
A1 Esports Season 2, wasn't it? Season 2?
Yeah.
And yeah, so you qualified. This is where I first met you, actually, because I commentated the event in Vienna, which was incredible. But how was that? The first time you ever qualified for a LAN event, you got to go to a different country, and obviously now you're a jet setter, but then, like, how did that feel?
Man, it was. I remember meeting you at the airport.
Oh, we met on the plane. I was right behind you on a plane.
Yeah, I was with my girlfriend Katie, and I remember like
Love her.
I didn't know what you looked like, but I knew your voice extremely well from listening to your streams. So I think you were on the phone, and I went, "Oh my god, that's Actrovision. Oh my god." So I was really nervous before I met you, but yeah, that was the first event, as you say, Rallycross, which surprised me, but it felt amazing. I just got to grips with it really quickly on the sim. And via the online tournament, I finished like 6th, so I just qualified. And then for the LAN final, I adapted to the Fanatec equipment really quickly. Got on with all of the drivers there. It was really nice for me to finally meet people you meet online. That's never really happened before. So that was quite a cool aspect. And then over the course, because it was all done in one day, if you remember.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I was commentating it. It was horrendous.
Yeah, knackering, yeah. But I was on fire, mate. I don't know what was going on. And it just
You
went
won every
really well.
qualifier. You won every qualifying race.
6 out of 6 qualifiers, and then the final didn't go to plan, but still finished in 2nd overall. For a first event, that was mental, and winning €4,000. At that point, that's where I stood back and went, "Oh my god! Like that's just gone from a hobby to a potential job in the future." So yeah.
Yeah, I was there, mate. So I'd been watching you guys all warm up, and you come in as I would say, on net pace, the slowest out of everybody.
Yeah.
And then, like, my first words, pretty much on the stream, my prediction was, the dark horse here is James. I watched you practice, and, it was an even playing field. And I don't think anyone had used the equipment that was on show. So you can see the Fanatec wheel on screen right now. They had the whole Fanatec handbrake, and the paddles don't move with the wheel, did they? They were static.
It's very weird.
So it's really tough. But it was about adapting to the situation. And, as we progress with your story, we'll figure out that your adaptation levels is your best attribute for me. Obviously, you've got raw pace, but yeah, being able to go into any situation and perform is that is the key to the biscuits. That is for sure. But yeah, you got second. Yoni Tormala, of all people, went and won that. I was supposed to present the trophy, and yeah, we won't get into that story today. We missed that one. We've got to meet, obviously, Matty as well for GTA.
Yeah.
Mr. Fingerdab himself, love him. And there's nothing naughty about that, by the way. That is just a dab.
Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound a bit odd. And you got to meet Magic Michael as well. We got Yuhan as well. And actually, the whole group, this is the first time of my involvement in sim racing where the whole group were really tight. Like, everyone got on, we all had a few drinks, we all had a dance. There's like a big festival feel to the event after it finished. And it was a real eye-opener, and we, like, Oscaro, or STL as they're called now again, they were kind of the black sheep of the community, but they really got involved. It's the first time that we were all together that night, if you remember.
Yeah, you're right. We all got on really well the night before and the night after. It was just during the race day, there was quite a bit of conflict.
Yeah.
Naturally, because there's a lot of money on the line. I remember I had run-ins with Yuhan and then Magic Michael, where, it's face-to-face. And the thing is, right, this is what I've learned the most from the real racing stuff, is how to deal with that. Because you get that on karting grids and in paddocks and racing, people coming up to you trying to get in your head. Whereas a lot of people that haven't had that, they don't know how to deal with it. So that's one strength, is just not keeping a level head, but getting in other people's heads, if you see what I mean. So
I was there, mate. So yeah, I understand. Like, it was good that there was someone sort of. I'm a little bit older than the rest of you that was there.
Yeah,
I diffused the situation. I got everyone to shake hands, and it's all good.
Yeah,
but it was pretty.
And at the end of the day, as you said, we were fine. And going forward, we're fine as well. Every time we see Yuhan, high five him, have a good old chat, and so with Magic Michael. So, yeah, and it's funny that a lot of the faces back then are still the faces I see at LAN events now. So very strange, but
yeah, well, absolutely, it's because they're talented human beings.
Yeah.
So you got your
Everyone's-
first taste of LAN finals, and then the Renault Esports happened. The qualifiers were online. It was all like time trial based qualifiers, and you managed to qualify for the Renault Esports finals. This is a Silverstone in 2018
Yes.
at the Formula One race. I got to commentate this as well. I've just had a notification that someone's followed me on Twitch. Forgot to turn that off before I've recorded. Sorry about that. So yeah. I got to commentate this event as well, which was a strange one for me. It was 4 drivers, and each race was about 25 minutes long. It was, yeah, it could have been. I think it could have been. The format could have been a lot better. The way that it was all put together could have been a little bit better. But ultimately, it was the second event you had the opportunity to race live in front of an audience as well, and they were really close. Like I can see your dad there in the background of this picture, actually. And the whole crowd were right behind you, weren't they? And myself, I was on a microphone, had to negotiate the crowd as well. It's really strange. But again, it was an opportunity for you to prove yourself. We had Brembo, who was in this as well, who was a Veloce driver at the time. We had NGR Fraser, and we had Nemesis from FPR. So that was the 4 drivers that qualified. You qualified via PC, I believe. Oh, no, you qualified via wildcard, actually, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. At a rallycross event.
Yeah, that was actually at the Rallycross Silverstone, wasn't it? The Speed Machine.
Yeah, and I qualified by 1,000th of a second.
Was it Dave Marshall that's just behind you? And you were the last person to go on the rig in the day as well?
Yeah.
That's mad, yeah, because I was doing the Dirt 4 World Championships that weekend, I believe. So
that's right.
Yeah, and so I didn't realise you were there, and then I got the notification that I was doing this, and they told me how you qualify. I was like, Jesus. But Brembo qualified via the Project Cars qualifying method, which was the time trial. Xbox was Nemesis, and then NGR Fraser. He still races our leagues, actually, Fraser. He qualified on PS4, and it was all VR setup, wasn't it? And you all declined, apart from Fraser. He went for it for the first race, and it was no good. It wasn't properly set up, really.
No.
Yeah, so you guys made a really good call. But so your second LAN event, you've gone in, you thought, right, I've got a second position under my belt. I've been in this position before. What was the difference for this one? I could tell the difference from my perspective when I interviewed you at the start. You were very confident. But what had changed in your mindset from Austria to this one?
Just like, I've done this before type thing, and the Renault one was a lot smaller in scale, I feel, and in competition level as well compared to Austria. So I just knew I was quicker than the other 3 online, and at the event I didn't see why that would change. So once again, using Fanatec equipment, and at the time after Austria, when I won the $4,000, I thought, right, it's time to invest. So I bought loads of Fanatec equipment and whatever, which I still use today. And that made me a lot stronger online at home. So going to events, it wasn't easy, because it never is easy, but it was just a more comfortable event, or probably the most comfortable event I've had on Project Cars. The thing is, though, like, they only opened it up to the UK, which rendered a lot of the fierce competition ineligible. So not saying again that made it easy, but it made it easier. So but yeah, still pretty cool prize, winning the track day at Palmer Sport, which I did a few months later, and then I ended up getting a job there, which is quite cool.
That is really cool. Like, you've gone. So this is how I see it. Again, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but there's from when I started in sim racing, it was always about the talent, how talented someone was, how quick they was. It was never really about psychology. It was never really about confidence. It was always about pace. Now I feel like the talent pool's so big that all of these factors at the top end of any sport, i.e. psychology, i.e. How confident you are, comes into play. Was that a turning point for you in the Renault Esports? Like, you just seemed a lot, not full of yourself, that's a wrong way of putting it, but you just seemed like you knew you were faster than everyone else, like you've already stated. But did the confidence help you to get to that level?
Well, I mean, if you watch a lot of top athletes, they all have, as you say, not arrogance or anything like that, but they have like a swagger about them or whatever.
If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
and you're right.
Yeah.
You need to have some sort of arrogance to be right at the top.
And it's not even just for yourself; it's to put the other guys off. So, that was probably the first demonstration of me trying that kind of approach, and it just works. So I just carried it forward ever since. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was just trying to be confident, and it ended up coming out well. So yeah, I've just kept that approach, and it's just seemed to work.
So ironically, like, this was the competition that was a smaller scale than the A1 Austria. You were just a little bit too late for the first SMSR Championship, but you qualified for the EROC Championships, the Race of Champions, the EROC. But obviously, you got to race the actual Race of Champions as well. But it was because of the Renault Esports. That was your qualifying ticket, effectively. You were the Project Cars qualifier. That was how it worked, right?
Yes, so there was 16 people that got invited, and it was meant to be from each game. There's not 16 games though, so there was a few that had 2 invites, but you're right, I was the Project Cars qualifier.
Yeah, that was done online on Assetto Corsa, I believe, where it was like 1v1, the same as it is in real life, and you won the whole thing. Obviously on a new game that you'd never really put too much time into, but again, you just seem to be... Like, I've been saying this for a long time. When I first started sim racing, it was the same names on every game. And now it's very rare to see someone be at the top of their game on multiple different titles. I think there's yourself. We could probably look at someone like Magic Michael is another one. Yoni Tormala is probably another one. And Frederick Rasmussen. Maybe even Bono Huis as well. He's one up there that's pretty good at everything. See, it's pretty rare these days, though, but you managed to do it. You qualified on the Assetto Corsa. It was a 16-person knockout competition. I remember Neil Cole and Ben, I can't ever pronounce his second name. Constadures were doing that in like an office setup. It's really strange, but it's really cool. Really, really nice event. But you managed to win that. And like before that event, obviously you qualified through the Renault Esports event, which wasn't deemed a huge deal in terms of the rest of the ways everyone else qualified. And you come into it, and well, from the first qualifying round, I think your first qualifying time was quicker than everybody else's quickest time through the whole event.
Yes. Well, the thing is, right, that particular competition was a massive turning point, and the thing is, it was a crossroads between doing esports or doing my job, which was engineering at the time, being a CNC machinist, and I loved that job, and I was just offered to go and do a degree. So I spoke to Jamie at Veloce, and I was like, "What's the chances of full-time esports?" And he said, "Well, you've won the Renault Esports title for us. You've not done too much else. So you need to win a major or a couple of majors. Otherwise, unfortunately, there's not really a place for you, as a full-time esports player." So I was like, "All right, okay, fair enough." So I just kept on working, was going to accept a degree, and then I got a call saying you've been invited to EROC, and I was like, right. So I held off the talks of going to do the degree, and I was going to see if I won EROC, and then I'd make my decision. So fortunately won EROC, and then that was it. I kind of left my job. I did the occasional day here and there, whereas before I was full-time, but just focused all of the efforts into the sim racing, the esports, the competitions, the YouTube, the media, just learning as much as I could through 2019. So that competition in general was a massive turning point, and I put a lot of practice in for it, and it paid off.
Yeah, it certainly did pay off. So obviously you went to Mexico City, where the EROC finals were. That's correct, right?
Yep.
You got to meet some incredible drivers. It must have been so weird for you because it's the first time you've ever been in that environment. So you would have been starstruck. This is your FA Cup final, if you like, but you're there as a spectator, but you're there as a competitor. That's the only way I can kind of really make sense of it. I don't know how you felt. You'd have to tell me. I'm not going to tell you how you felt, but that must have been pretty similar to how it felt for you, right?
Well, yeah, man. To be honest with you, winning is like a drug. When the first hour after you win something like EROC or something like that is just the high is unbelievable. So and I know you get starstruck and whatever, but then you have to just compose yourself and think, I want more of that high. So that's what happened throughout the weekend. From day 1 to day 2, where we didn't actually do much driving, we were just meeting people and seeing others drive, meeting, Sebastian Vettel, Mick Schumacher, David Coulthard, and just chatting with them on a casual basis in the changing rooms, and then seeing your name on the boards next to all their names. And you're right, it does knock you off guard a bit, but I think all of us were very close, so we all kind of focused very well. And Brendan Lee was there, Sebastian Job, and Niels Newjocks, especially Brendan. He's a fierce competitor in himself. So you had to concentrate, otherwise the margins were so fine, he was going to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you tell us about the process then. How it went from start to finish, from when you actually finally got into the car? How did it work out as the competition went unfolded?
It was just a tournament on stage on the Saturday, and there was like you had to face each other twice in the 1v1 format we used for the Invitational. In a stadium they made up on the Assetto Corsa simulator, using all the different cars. So it could have been a random car that they use in the Race of Champions. So it could have been a buggy, KTM Crossbow, a Vol, etc. And we just ended up. So there was, I think we did 12. No, I can't remember the number, but 9 races in total. I won all of mine. Brendan almost did, Seb almost did, and then Niels lost a few. So, however that happened, I ended up racing Brendan in a 1v1 on the real track, and that whoever won that basically had an advantage going into the final 2 sim races, and then whoever won the 2 sim races won the whole thing. So I won everything on that day. Couldn't believe it as it was happening. Again, like in Austria, I went into this zone where I was just making no mistakes, was on fire, confidence was high, everything came together, and then what led after that was amazing, being entered into the real Race of Champions. So, yeah.
That's what I would say about you, James, here. And again, please don't take this the wrong way. Like, there's a lot of people online at your level. Like, there's a big talent pool. But what separates you is the ability to up it a gear when it matters, in a live environment. Which we've seen some of the very very best. Like Magic Michael within Project Cars, of course, we see them in virtual GPs, gone and won that 160 times now. But like, he was, I would say, in the heyday of Project Cars esports before last year, he was the number one. Like, there was no touching him, whether it be PC on PS4, online. But he never got the cross the line when it comes to the actual LAN events.
Yeah,
it's a really strange one, but you have that ability to find another gear. So you beat Brendan Lee. He was the flavour of the month at the time. He's the 2-time. I don't know. He was probably only 1 time. Was he 2-time?
No, he was 2. He just off the back of winning his 2nd title. Yeah.
So he was the 2-time F1 esports champ. He's driving for Mercedes as well, which was incredible. He was flavour of the month. He was growing up as a driver as well, like from when he first won the finger wag. Again, Brendan, one of my friends, he's a really nice lad now. Watching him grow up has been incredible. I get, him personally as well. He's like a different human from a couple of years ago.
He's changed, yeah.
And then you get into the real car. What was that like for the first time?
Yeah, it was. Well, we had a few practice days across the week, but we didn't have that much practice. And to be honest with you, mate, like the 1v1 with Brendan, I drove I thought quite poorly. And as going to the finish line, you can't see where the other opponent is. And I thought, that's it, I've lost it. I've made like 3 mistakes. I almost hit the wall. And then I came across the line almost 2 seconds in front of him. And I was like, what the hell? Like, he must have had either a very bad run or my run wasn't as bad as I thought. So, but yeah, once I won, it was just like that high I was talking about earlier. It was crazy, man. Like, the amount of people saying congratulations and realizing what you were going to go and do next. And then the real Race of Champions was very daunting because the more people came into the stadium to watch. The TV cameras came out, Sky Sports F1, and I
watched it, mate. I could see how many people there. I was nervous at home watching this. It was ridiculous.
The thing is, right, Enzo was my teammate in Sim Racing All Stars, and he'd had a bit more practice throughout the week. He'd done the year before, so he was a bit more prepared for it. But somehow I managed to scrap a win in the Aerial Atom, and that was the first time I drove that car. So, mate, it was that was an uncomfortable situation.
Didn't just scrape a win. Who did you beat?
Wow, Ruben Garcia Jr.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, it was unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
And Enzo beat Lucas de Grassi, right?
Yes.
And that went down like,
that
for
was
the
incredible.
lack of a better term, a shit sandwich on Twitter with Lucas de Grassi. He was not happy with that at all. Yeah, he took that like a chump, not a champ.
Yeah,
but it was good.
It was the same in the changing room as well. He was very pissed off.
Well, each to their own. They got to learn. And yeah, and that was kind of really, for me, the first time that the real world motorsports, and again, I've got my opinions on real world motorsports and sim racing, which are really quite opposed to what I'm about to say. The first time where we saw in the mainstream media, oh my God, these guys are coming. Like, this is a genuine transition now. You know, we obviously have sponsors who sponsor events, and they feel like it is a definite gateway into it. The game companies think it's a definite gateway. The consoles, the PC companies, they think it's a genuine gateway into real-world motorsports. But the actual real-world motorsport, they were the ones that were hung up on it, like, nah, not a chance here. Like, karting's the only way you can do it. But all of a sudden, you've got two young lads here who've come in and beat, you know, well, one of them being a world champion.
Yeah. Enzo was rapid, mate, all weekend. And I think he should have actually done better than what he did, given his pace. But still, he made a massive impact for the sim racing community that weekend. Yeah.
It was phenomenal to watch. And so, yeah, you won the EROC. You're all good there. And then the next thing for you was a little bit later on. Really was the SMSR Championship, back to Project Cars. Again, this was at Mercedes World. Was it last year? It was last year, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was a really, really cool event. We had the online qualifiers where you guys just about scraped through in the end.
After 2 rounds, I was on 0 points.
It was an interesting qualifiers. It was interesting. We had the teams that actually qualified for the final were yourself, VP Gaming, ACR, our team. I can't remember who the other teams are now. This is bad from me. I'm normally very good with my memory. Oscaro?
The teams that qualified for the final?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them.
It was just those 4. There was 5, wasn't there?
Nah, it's 4.
Was it 4? Oh, I thought it was 5. Okay, so there was 4 teams, then they had the Challenger Series, and you guys came second in that. Just missed out to VP. We can see Isaac here. We had Isaac on in round number 1. So you've gone from runners-up in the A1, and then you'd won all of the stuff you've won, the Renault Esports. You've gone to the EROC. You're effectively the fastest sim racer in the world, although we will come to that again in a minute. And then you've come second in a team objective again. How did that feel? You're talking to the actual champions here, and again, I know there's a lot of respect between you and Isaac. There's Storm in the background. So how did it make you feel to not quite get across the line in that competition?
Yes, well, I was relieved that we actually got to the final in the first place, but yeah, I think we should have won that championship, to be honest. I don't know what happened to. I think Storm said he had a software bug on his computer throughout the day, which is obviously, you know, he's the one feeling the wheels, so I obviously believe him. It's just an unfortunate situation, and we know how quick he is on the game as well. So he should have been at the front with me, and then it would have been, you know, a piece of piss without, you know, not being too crude. But yeah, the final race, if I beat Isaac at Road America, I would have won the championship for us almost. And I made one mistake, and that cost us the win with like 3 laps to go. So I do think that's the title we should have won. But VP were, especially Isaac, he was on it that day. So, and thankfully now he's in our team, so he can't beat us.
Yeah,
He's part of us.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because like Project Cars gets its fair amount of slack, but bloody hell, the top end of that esport is so ruthless. Like, you make one mistake, you do not recover from it. The talent is so close at the top of that roster, if you like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's proven by a lot of us going to other games and doing well. Storm won a GT Sport World Final event, a World Tour event. Sorry, Isaac is at the front of Race Room. There's a lot of examples. So you're right. Project Cars 2, I don't know what they're doing at the moment, but previously their esports players at the top are top class.
Yeah, well, I think it's Project Cars 2 has been renowned for, especially because there's money involved as well in these major competitions, that they're renowned for producing talent. It's like a stepping stone to other competitions. And you know, I don't understand how Project Cars isn't seen as one of the major esports events, because it's one of the very few that actually has money involved, and that's what ultimately everybody should be striving to earn, is money through sim racing.
That's quite a hot topic, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. That's something I'll be discussing on a podcast with David Perel, so that'll be coming soon, guys. Don't worry. Then next up then is the world's fastest gamer. So how did you qualify for this event, or was it an invite? How did it work?
It was an invite. There was 8 invites and 2 qualifiers, but I got invited, so very fortunate.
Yeah, very fortunate. Doesn't matter how you get there. If you've got a chip in a chair, as I say, you've got your chance to win it. So there you go. You see on the rig. That's on top of a building in Las Vegas, which is quite. I was there a week after, by the way, for the Logitech G Challenge final.
Yes,
That
yeah,
was
I heard
really
about
strange.
that. Actually,
Missed out by a week. That would be epic. But yeah, you can see you in the rig there. I don't know who's edited it to just show. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird picture, but you can get the gist there. You're in a full racing suit and all that. Yeah, I think Rubens Barrichello and Montoya were there. Was that correct?
that's right. Yeah, they were like, well, Montoya was the head judge. He made the final decision who was going to win. Barrichello was just like a shoulder to cry on type
A
thing.
mentor.
A mentor, yeah.
And then you had one of my favourite people in the world, Rudy Van Buren, as one of the coaches. And who was the other coach? I can't remember for the life of me.
Jan Mardenborough.
Ah, of course. So then we head to there's a car you're in right there. What car is that?
It's called a Midjet. It's like a 200 horsepower rear-wheel drive little touring car, really.
It looks like an Audi.
I know it's got an Audi shell.
It looks like it looks like an Audi, like the EKS Rallycross cross between the WTCR touring car.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool little car. It was good for what the competition needed to, and the aim of it was to see who makes the most mistakes and who can push really hard, basically.
Is it front-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive.
Oh, rear-wheel drive. Okay, so it could have been a little bit more challenging. Yeah, obviously a lot better. But yeah, it was a competition, World's Fastest Gamer, and Rudy Van Buren was the first winner of that a couple of years ago, and he's gone on to do some incredible things. Again, go follow him on Twitter because he's got an incredible journey. That's really, again, he's been in this game for a long time, but it seems like it's only just beginning with some of the stuff he's getting up to now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are here racing in that car. So it was about all aspects of racing, was it? It was about like reaction time, fitness. It was about ability to drive a real car, and then ability to race in a sim rig. Would that be correct in that description?
Yeah. I mean, not all of equal status. I mean, driving the real car was probably the most important aspect because the prize was to drive a real car.
Yes.
But it wasn't just whoever was quickest on day one was going to win. It was whoever showed that they showed the most improvement over the 2 weeks, and that's a long time. So even if you've not driven a car before, you should, after 2 weeks, start to improve a lot to show them that you're worthy of winning the competition. They'd pick the winner at the end of it. So the fitness stuff, the media stuff, the sim racing stuff, that was all extremely important as well. And it was fairly close, so it all counted into who was going to win the whole thing. But yeah, the 2 weeks was amazing. At the same time, it was grueling because there was very early mornings, very late nights, pretty much every night. But it was bloody worth it, man. Unbelievable. The best fortnight, I guess, of my career and probably my life.
Yeah, well, there you go. You just kind of summed it up perfectly then. It was worth it, worth all of the hard work. And you actually came out and became the world's fastest gamer. There's you there with your trophy, which is a bloody good trophy there. I see you haven't opened up the bottle of champagne yet, which I'm a bit disappointed with. That should be the first thing you've opened. But what was the prize for this event? You just touched on it there, a real-world driving seat.
Yes. So this year will be, I believe, GT3 in a championship formerly known as Blank Pan. I can't say what else or who with, etc. yet, but it's going to be amazing, and I'll announce who it is probably in the next couple of weeks. So honestly, man, I don't know if that's just all I'm doing this year. There could be more, I'm not sure, but it's going to be unbelievable. And it's always been a dream of mine since I was 8 and started karting, as we were talking about earlier, to be a real racing driver. So this is top level stuff, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, you've always wanted to do the real world motorsport stuff. And when you won World Fastest Gamer, I rang you the week after because I wanted to get your answer to this question. So I obviously there's big opinions about sim racing being a gateway into racing. A load of racing drivers have been posting recently, 95% of drivers want to become a real racing driver, and I'm quite opposed to that. I think that at this point now that we're at, I think it's 50-50. I think 50% want to become a real-world racing driver, but I then think 50% see being the best sim racer in the world, world's fastest gamer, as you see on your screen right now, or an EROC champion, or just winning a sim racing event on their specific title, be it GT Sport, be it Project Cars, be it Forza. That is the end goal for a lot of these drivers now. And I just wanted to get your opinion on this. Of course, you've gone from sort of the real world of stuff into sim racing and then into the real world stuff again, and you've got an amazing opportunity. Of course, you can't speak too much today about it, but your answer to me on that day was, no, I'm still going to sim race. I want to be doing well in both of them. So what are your genuine
Yeah.
opinions of this? Like, obviously mine is I feel like that there's a genuine feel that that half of these people just want to become the best sim racer in the world. People ask me all the time, "Oh, you're pretty good at commentary, but it'd be really good if you get an opportunity in real world racing." I have zero interest in going into real world racing. I love sim racing. I'm a nerd for that. That's my genre.
Yeah.
That's what I want to excel in. So yeah, if you can give me your opinions on this.
It's a massive topic at the moment, but
Yeah.
David's tweet, for those
Well,
who've seen it.
that's different. That's a whole different topic. That's to do with money within it. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I mean, yeah, but I know what you mean now.
Well, I mean, if you want to go, as you say, 50-50, you want to go real life, you want to go esports, either way, only a handful at most make it to the top. So it doesn't matter what one you go for, you're going to need to sacrifice quite a lot. That's regarding his tweet. But in terms of my opinion on the matter, it is up to you what you want to do, and there should be both. There should be both. There should be esports on its own, F1 esports, the pinnacle, or GT Sport, the pinnacle of gaming, loads of money involved, loads of viewers, proper esports, hardcore esports. But the reason the racing kind of esports sector stands out is because you can cross over to the real life, and no other industry can do that. So the key is though not to mix the real life with the top end esports. For example, there shouldn't ever be a prize for F1 esports. The winner drives a Formula 1 car or something like that, because that in turn ruins the hardcore esports sector of it. I know people are very adamant about there should only be one. So a lot of people are saying bin off the real life thing completely. But why would you do that? Like this year, I'm going to have the most amazing year with World's Fastest Gamer, and it will appeal to a lot of people, draw them in, and then make them watch the hardcore esports sector as well. So I don't think you need to get rid of anything. I just think you need to differentiate the two very, very obviously, so people know what's what.
I feel like sim racing. Well, I know sim racing exists because of real world motorsport. If that didn't exist, it wouldn't be a thing. But I feel like we're getting into a position now where, in the next 10 years, you're going to see that real world motorsport exists because of sim racing. The sim racing is bringing in that extra audience because like motorsports in general, apart from Formula 1, of course, that's just always going to be safe pretty much. But other motorsports are dying off. I remember when I was a kid, British touring cars was just the next best thing since sliced bread. And there are like a really core audience to that championship now, but it's nowhere near as like in Britain. James, you would have been a bit too young really to. Your dad would have been into British touring cars, right?
Oh yeah, I used to watch it as well. I know what you're saying. Motorsport's dying, man, in many ways.
Yeah, and I think sim racing is only going to help that. But we need to break the stigma of me and you having a debate here now. We're like me and you are trying to put the world to rights on this, but yeah, it is. We need to break the stigma from people thinking it's a threat.
Yeah, it's a simple thing, and everyone has an opinion now, and it's like obvious. Anyone can say what they want, and that's fine, that's perfect. But a lot of people's opinions are just a bit irrational. So it's just differentiate the two. The barrier to entry for motorsport is obviously very high. So yes, esports can be a route in. Through World's Fastest Gamer, GT Academy did it back in the day, whatever. But just make sure it doesn't get clustered up with the esports stuff that, I don't know, I don't want to name names, but certain people don't want to be a racing driver. They want to be gamers, racing on esports rigs, getting their money that way. Or
I'm a prime example in that field, whereas I just want to be involved with sim racing. That's my objective. That's what I want to be involved in. I don't want to go to the real world motorsport. Like I said, the amount of people that go, oh yeah, next step for you is no, it's not. That's not where I want to go.
And that's fine, man. It's just there's so many people out there that just can't understand other people's opinions. That's the only issue at the moment.
And I'll tell you what, it's what is amazing to see, and this shows growth in sim racing, is when a big driver with a big following on Twitter or on Facebook posts something negative towards sim racing. The sim racing community, Jesus Christ, they go in hard. Like, 3-4 years ago, you get 10 people posting I don't know, GIFs weren't really a thing then, but like a Patrick GIF from SpongeBob, just something really, just horrendous that just discredited everyone. Now you're getting like proper threads being posted by hundreds of people, thousands of people who, you know, all have an opinion, and you know, they all have a little bit of a following as well. And you know, as much as the actual person who's posted about it, a real world driver, for instance, who's got 100,000 followers, they get absolutely outweighed by someone with 1,000 or 100 or 10 followers, because the sim racing community back that person so much. So I think that just goes to show that we're moving in the right direction.
We are, yeah.
We've got well off topic, mind.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So back to you, James. I guess my final question to you will be, what does 2020 hold for you, and what does the future hold for you?
2020 holds a season in racing, real life. Don't know, well, I can't say what it is just yet, but the goal is to win whatever that is. And as well as that, F1 Esports is hot on the agenda. Last year I didn't quite make the cut. I was in the team, but I was a test driver. This year it's got to be a race seat in the full season. Hopefully, the goal's got to be to win it. It's going to be hard because that competition's very tough, but that is the goal. And just doing whatever else I can. There's competitions popping up all the time, like the FI Motorsport Games that popped out of nowhere last year.
Yeah,
Le Mans Esports. You know, on Forza, but on a wheel, so it's doable. There's loads of competitions coming out every day almost, so just keeping an eye out and growing the YouTube and the media side of it as well is very important. But the future will just be continue to do what I'm doing year on year, but as the esports sector grows in racing, hopefully we all will as well.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, well, I'm on board with that, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, James. Like I say, I've been there from the very start. I've watched you.
You have, mate.
I've watched you grow from someone who very rarely opened up or spoke about anything to someone who was, I don't know, maybe tarred with the brush of someone who's a bit arrogant, and you've kind of then reined that back in again. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure watching you grow, not just as a racing driver or a sim racing driver, but as a human as well. So yeah, thank you very much for being on the show, James. And I'm sure we'll do a follow-up of this, because you know, your story is still ever growing, and I wish you the very best of luck for the rest of the year.
Cheers, man. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I've enjoyed watching you grow as well. So yeah, I'll speak to you soon, mate.
Which way? Outwards?
No, I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, man. It's good to see you got kids, and you know, you and your missus are happy. So yeah, good speaking to you.
Thank you very much, mate. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is episode number 3 of our driver spotlight, and it is Veloce Jaaames Baldwin. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you do go down and check out the links in the description. That will be where James's YouTube and Twitter and all that good stuff is, and that's where my stuff will be as well. If there's anyone else you would like to see on this driver spotlight show, if there's any feedback you would like to give me, I would genuinely appreciate it. Put it down in the comments section, or you can tweet it at me at ActrolVision. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all next time. Bye-bye.